Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Fit Chicks Chat. My name is Laura Jackson,
And I'm Amanda Quinn.
and on today's episode, we are going into part two of our Kiss, Marry, Kill editions, where we are going to be focusing on nutrition. So, just a quick recap if you missed last week, we decided that over the next few podcasts, we're playing this game, Kiss, Marry, Kill. Basically, what are the things that we would, have a fling with when it came to either fitness? Last week we talked about fitness. This week it's going to be nutrition. What are the things that we would marry? So make that lifelong commitment to that we would keep doing for the rest of our lives when it comes to nutrition. And then what are the things that we want to kill, basically break up with forever, that we're like, that we've done that, we never want to do it again. So we each kind of went through what were our own personal things, um, and then just what I think too for, whether you're coaching clients or whether you're doing this for like listening for your own nutrition, what I would focus on. So,
hmm
what do we want to start with?
I like starting with Kiss always, just in the order of Kiss,
Feels
Marry,
so
Kill.
non-committal. Like, how are we going to get into
Yeah,
it?
no, exactly. So Kiss, I mean, I think when it comes to nutrition, what I was thinking about is things that I would like that I like to check out, but not like completely commit to forever, never, never. And I don't know if this is necessarily nutrition like based, but it kind of is um new equipment, like new kitchen equipment, utensils, different not utensils, but like different things like an air fryer, an Instapot, a slow
Mm.
cooker, a spiralizer, things like that. I think for me, when it comes to nutrition, I like trying different recipes. So as you know, I not recently, and I have to get back into it, but before I always had a commitment that I would try one new recipe every week. So it was just something that I would just try because I was like, hey, I just like I get super bored cooking the same thing. I want to try something different. So that's also something that I would kiss is just like new recipes. But I think having new equipment in your kitchen creates this new opportunity for you to try different things, to try different ways of cooking old traditional dishes, to make them new, to make them fresh, to make them different. Opens you up to like eating healthier. Like I know for me, like having an Instapot now is like, oh my gosh, like now I can make these dishes in half the time or in a quarter of the time, or I just throw it in and walk away and I've got soup in 25 minutes, you know?
Yeah,
And
game
so
changing.
having those kinds of things, totally, they can be a game changer, but you don't have to feel like that's your only option, right? And that's the whole thing about Kiss is that it's things that you're like, I'm going to try this out and I'm going to see if this works for me. There's other equipment that I've bought, like different, I bought this like indoor grill thing and stuff, and I'm very much like not in love with it, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, it's good, but I'm not like using it all the time. I use it only for one dish and that's it. So it's fine, but it's there. I'm not committed to using it forever and ever and ever. But then there's things that you'll fall in love with that you'll be like, oh, I actually want to marry my Instapot now because I use it all the time. But that, I guess, for me, from a nutrition standpoint, I'm not necessarily talking about food, but I'm talking about the experience of creating healthier food. For me, it's about trying different equipment that's out there that might just make your life completely easier, or it might make your meals completely different and transform the way that you cook and the way that you approach meal prepping and cooking and developing new recipes and things like that. So that would be that's my kiss, is like open up to new equipment and trying new things and not leaving them in the box for 8 months, which is what I have a tendency of doing.
Yeah, and I mean, I love that. Like, I again, there's like, your foundational pieces in your kitchen that I think,
Mhm.
and the thing that I love about kitchen equipment is like there are so many cool trends that come out. There's the foundational pieces, then there's these kind of appliances, but there are some that come out every so often that to me I would marry. Like I would marry the Instant Pot. Like for me, that has
That's what I
changed the
mean. Yeah.
game for my cooking. And then even for me too, like my Vitamix. I've had my Vitamix since we lived together. That thing is like
Oh my
16
gosh, you
years
still
old.
have
Like,
it?
yes, and it
It's
still
still
works
kicking?
perfectly, which goes to show if you invest in good quality equipment that actually, and usually that's what's more, it's more expensive, right? Like that's the thing is, but I invested $500 in that. I don't even know how many, it's paying me back now, like to use it.
Oh
But like
gosh,
the
yeah.
Instant Pot, every so often there's a kitchen gadget, but then there are some that, even like my husband's bought me for Christmas, like to do with like garlic presses, and they're these fancy gadgets. And I'm like, I still just use my own old little garlic press, like,
Hmm.
so I love the idea of kitchen, like, again, trying different things when it comes to your equipment or being aware of what's out there. And if you have the money, because some people they hate cooking and they're never going to cook, which is fine too. As long as you
Hmm.
know how to actually build your meals and shop in healthy or nutritionally dense convenience foods, which aren't really convenience foods, they're just pre-done for you, right? Then that's also great as well. But yeah, I love the idea of all the new cool kitchen equipment that comes out because it really does make healthy eating and cooking very easy for the average person, because that's one of the biggest complaints, right?
Totally.
Is that, oh my gosh, it's
Time.
going to take me so much time to prep, to cut, to cook all the ingredients. Some recipes in the oven that are healthy or in the slow cooker, and the slow cooker is even a hack, but like in the oven, it's a 6 hour cooking time, whereas you throw it in the Instant
Totally.
Pot and it's 30 minutes. So
I know.
just,
I literally made meatballs for my family the other day, and it took no more than like 4 minutes because it was
yeah,
just like put the sauce in, put the tomatoes in, put the meatballs in, done. And I threw
yeah,
it in the Instapot and it was done. And I left it and I walked away and I did a bunch of things and then it was just stayed in like when you keep it warm and you just keep it in there. And they were like, "Oh, they're the best ever. They were so good. They were so like soft." And I was like, that's
yeah,
great.
that's
Because
the
when I
yellow
make them in the
feeling.
oven, they taste terrible because I dry them out because I cook everything like jerky. So that's also saved my cooking having an Instapot because now people don't say that my food tastes like jerky because I can't overcook it.
I know.
It's the
Well, mine, I
opposite.
went
It's the
I went a little bit
opposite.
of a different direction for my
Uh-huh.
kiss.
For your
So
kiss?
I was thinking about more from like, changing your own nutrition. So, or coaching in nutrition. So my
Huh?
kiss, and I thought about kiss like, because in the original game, I said this last week, the kiss section is not just actually kiss, it's another word that starts with an F, a bad word. So, which we're not going to say, it's who you're kind of going to have a short term fling with, a short term affair. So, I was thinking about this as like the short term affair in nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So, my kiss was tracking apps
Hmm.
and calorie counting. So, the reason I picked that is because it's funny, there's kind of two schools of thought about tracking, right? Because it goes back to diet culture. So a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, calorie counting is so bad, it's so detrimental, it's such a horrible thing to do. And then there's other people who are like, it's amazing, I love the data, I love to know exactly the numbers, it makes my life so much easier, right? So I kind of look at the way I think in my position on tracking apps and calorie counting and macros tracking and things like that is, it is a kiss. It's like a short-term love affair. It has a purpose and I still love it for that purpose, but it also, for a long-term marriage, is not something I would do for the rest of my life. I don't recommend anyone to track, unless again you don't have an emotional relationship with the numbers. If you can actually look at it like data.
Or if
But
you're tracking for like if you're an athlete or
yeah,
you're a marathon runner or and marathon runners would be athletes,
or you're
but
trying to
you're someone
reach
who
a
is like you're
specific,
tracking a specific thing. Yeah.
yeah, for a specific goal. But the thing
Mhm.
is, I do love tracking apps and calorie counting for a baseline. So if you don't know where you're starting from, it's really hard to make changes, whether it be for yourself or if you're coaching a client, right? Because all you're kind of like, all you're going on is your perception of what you're doing, not what you're actually doing. So if you're like, okay, I want to completely change my nutrition, I want to lose weight, I want to get healthier, and you're like, and you just jump right into action of like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to eat more protein. I'm going to, change everything I'm eating. You don't even already know kind of where you're at and things aren't working, then it's really hard for you to make changes, or you just assume that whatever you're doing just doesn't work. Or for example, you don't even know what you need to actually change. So like, one of the assignments that we have in our holistic nutrition weight loss coach certification is to track macros for 3 days. So you calculate your caloric deficit that you have to be in, right? So you calculate that. You calculate then the macros, so the breakdown of the protein, the fiber, and the protein, carbohydrates, and fats that make up that caloric deficit. And then you go into MyFitnessPal or a tracking app and you track it for 3 days. And even that assignment, we're not doing it because we're saying, oh, we're pro tracking. We're doing it because it is a tool that can be used in nutrition. And also, we want our students to have a personal experience with it. So they can give a personal, what it was like. And some people hate it and some people love it, right? But it is a tool with a purpose. It also helps people to learn the skill of nutrition because so many times we don't realize that we're consuming so many calories or we're consuming very little protein. Like we have no idea of what we're actually doing. So now you're like, oh, you're conscious for a period of time of like, okay, I'm going to try to hit this protein goal in my tracking app. I'm going to try to hit this fiber goal in my tracking app. I'm going to try to hit this many calories because I'm under eating or overeating. Right. So it's almost to me like an education tool. It is not marriage material. It's not a long-term thing that you have to be like, I'm hitting these macros, I'm eating out of these calories for the rest of my life, but it really is something that will give you your starting point and teach the skill at the same time. So I actually love tracking apps and I do like calorie and macros counting, but for a short-term love affair. That's my position on it.
And I think
So I
that's
would kiss
great.
it.
I think it makes total sense. It makes
I think
total
it's
sense to
so
kiss that
hard to get to
because
your goals if you have no idea what
mhm,
you're actually doing. And this is where a lot of frustration comes from, right? A lot of people are like, I'm not losing weight, I'm not losing weight, it's my hormones, it's this, it's that, but then they're not even actually looking at what they're consuming. And it's like, oh, well, wait a second,
mhm,
you're actually consuming highly processed, high carbohydrate, no protein, way more calories than your body needs, even if you're eating real whole foods, right? So once we
yeah,
get a realistic picture, then you feel less overwhelmed of it's not working. You're like, oh, these are the levers I can pull. And as a coach, it makes your life so much easier because you could see it on paper, right? Because you know the goal of ideally what they want to be at. And you're like, oh, if I just pull this one lever, that's going to make such a huge difference. So I love it. I love them as a tool, but they're not a lifestyle. They're a coaching tool. That's what I see it as.
makes sense. Now, in terms of marriage for nutrition, mine is something we've talked about on the podcast probably 10,000 times. But I just love it so much, which is our complete and three rule. Eating our complete and three rule, following that rule. We talk about it, we teach it in our holistic nutrition weight loss coaching certification program. We talk about it consistently on this podcast. And you taught it to me, Laura, and I love it so much because it's so easy. It's so freaking easy. So for anyone who doesn't know, who has never heard this on any of our podcasts or anywhere, the complete three rule is eating protein, fiber, and fat with every meal and every snack. And I think it is, and I not even think, I know that it is the biggest game changer when it comes to nutrition because it allows for you to know that every single time that you're eating a balanced meal, you're balancing your blood sugars, you're balancing your dish. You're not going to just eat carbohydrates and then be starving an hour later. You're not just focusing on, one specific macro. You have all of these macronutrients on your plate so that you have a balanced state. It's I think I always think of it as like the simplest way to eat. And I think about it every single time I'm building meals for my family, every single time I'm building my meals,
Mm-hmm.
anytime I'm eating, even if it's just like I'm grabbing a snack and I'm like, oh, I'm going to have an apple. I'm like, I won't just have an apple, right? I have to have some sort of a protein with it, or else I feel like I can't eat this because I know it's not balanced. And so it has completely transformed just the way that I think about nutrition. And I think that when we eat this way, I know for sure it will transform your health. It'll transform the way that you feel. It'll transform the way that your cravings, your energy levels, like everything changes as soon as you start eating this way. And as soon as you don't, like how many times have you eaten something and you're like, I don't follow that rule, and then you just feel tired or you feel sluggish or you feel off or
Yeah.
whatever. So it truly does completely transform the state. So that is my Mary, because I will do that for the rest of my life. It is something that I'm so grateful to know it because it's something that I don't even have to think about anymore. It's just like natural, but it's something that I will never not do now moving forward. It is like my lifetime commitment.
And mine, that was part of mine. So mine is also the
Oh,
complete.
sorry.
I always say if I could sum up my nutrition advice, like if someone's like, what would be, your if someone could do one thing, what would it be? And I always say the complete and three rule, like eat protein, fiber, and healthy fat at every meal. But I would add kind of a little one more thing to that, which is that I would focus that complete and three rule around real whole food. So this is the thing, right? The complete and three is amazing, and but we have so many highly processed foods in our world today that would still fall into those categories. So it's kind of like that reminder, like 80% of the time is minimally processed foods, like real whole foods, and then 20% of the time could fill that with things like protein bars, or, if you like dark chocolate as your healthy fat, or if you're going to have things that are quote unquote not so nutritionally dense, right? But the idea of the complete and three, but with it being 80% of the time you're eating real whole foods, like that's my kind of go to. Because again, what people don't think about when it comes to nutrition is there's a way to eat and then there's what to eat, right? Like
Mm.
how we eat, what we eat, when we eat impacts our experience with the foods that we have. So if throughout the day you have two different people who are eating the exact same things, but they're eating them in different combinations or at different times, they're going to have completely different results. One could have blood sugar spikes and one could have steady blood sugar throughout the day, right? One could have more insulin being released that's contributing to like insulin resistance eventually. One would not, even if they're eating the same thing. So it's so fascinating to me, right? Like the way it's what you
It
eat,
is
when you
fascinating.
and what
Yeah.
you eat. Also your body, I just always think about it like gas in your car, right? Like your body needs the raw materials to build muscle, to balance hormones, to digest all the functions that our body does. It needs raw materials to fuel that. So if we are getting it from real whole foods and then we build our plate with protein, fiber, and fat at every meal, we're getting the benefits of all of those, macros and vitamins and minerals, plus the how we eat then is balancing everything out. So that's my lifelong commitment. It's simple. Again, you could take it anywhere. It's not based on specific foods. Like you could do it as a vegan, you could do it as a carnivore, you could do it as an omnivore, you could do it as like keto, even. Like you can build your plates in these ways every time. Just sometimes the balance of stuff changes, but always
Yeah.
the complete
And
three.
I think, but it's the simplicity of it, right? Because like I've even been able to teach my daughter how to eat this way. Like,
Yeah.
you know, at 8 years old, understands the balance plate, understands, oh, I need to eat a protein. I know I need to eat my chicken. I know I need to eat, you know what I mean? But it's like knowing that it's that simple. It's really not complex because I think that what we've done is in nutrition and in health and fitness and in this industry overall, we complicate so many things. And some things are more complex, don't get me wrong. But this kind of stuff, where it's just like, this is a foundation of eating that can change and transform your health in your life and the way that your body reacts to what you're fueling it with and everything else. Let's make it as simple as possible. Let's make it as easy as possible so that anybody can follow this. Anybody can follow this rule, whether you're traveling, whether you're on vacation, whether you're 8 or whether you're, 78. It's not complex. It doesn't have to be. And that's what I love about this rule so much. So I just wanted to share that. Now,
Well, and I also always think of it as all of that other stuff, right? Like this superfood and this supplement and this trend, they don't matter if you don't have these foundations in place first, right? So it's like it's the
true.
same thing even with like GLP-1 medications and all these things that are coming out that also, and we have a whole course on GLP-1s if anyone's interested in that, and how to, coach alongside of them. But all of the introduction of that, you still need the foundations. There's nothing outside of those foundations that are going to make you get to your goal, right? So you'll move towards it, but you need the foundations in place for long-term health and also to speed up getting to your goals. So that for me, it's like that's the piece that goes along. So when everyone's looking for this next, trend in foods or this superfood or this like nutrition activity, even with cold plunging, right? Like people are like, oh, I'm gonna cold plunge to burn more fat. It's like, okay, but if you are not consuming nutrition in a way that's going to support your body, it's like you're going to get a small benefit from that, but it's not going to give you the bigger benefit. So like that's one of the foundational pieces is like real whole food, like complete and three built with real whole food. And then the rest of those things then become more effective because you're getting that baseline and you're balancing it out. So um yeah, that's my Mary.
All right. And then when it comes to kill, for nutrition, mine is like a little bit like politically charged, maybe not politically, not politics, but it's a little bit charged when it comes to like marketing, which is don't believe. So it kind of goes in line with your Mary of eating real whole foods. And my kill is don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype of marketers. Marketers are really, really good marketers. And if we are basing our health and nutrition decisions on what we are reading on food labels or the commercials we're seeing that are saying, oh, now made with whole grains, but it's still Fruit Loops, it doesn't mean that it's good for you. And so I
Yeah.
think kill to me is don't believe the hype. Don't pay attention. Like, we always hear that thing of like shop the perimeter of the grocery store and all that kind of thing, right? Those things they are true. Like if you shop around the outside and you go to the fruits and veggies and you go to the meat section, you go to the dairy section, like those are the things that will be more helpful than going up and down the aisles where all the other processed packaged stuff is. But if you are going to get packaged foods, don't believe that just because something says that it is heart healthy or that it is now made with whole grains or it has, you know, raw sugar as opposed to other sugar, that it's good for you. Like these are what these marketers are paid to do. They're really good at what they do, right? That is all they focus on is how can we make the colors stand out more to make them more attractive to kids? How can we make the writing on this more attractive to make it look because it says that it's now made with natural materials or organic ingredients, we got to use certain colors that make it look healthy. Don't believe the hype. Try to just eat real whole foods, and if you are going to eat foods that are packaged or processed, learn the vocabulary that's used. They use so many different words to describe different things that are just terrible for you, but they're just saying it in a nice way. And so we believe it to be like so much better. I think because this has been something, and I know Laura, I've talked to you about this, like how angry it made me the very first time I saw this when I was at a Costco and I saw the like double jumbo boxes of cereal and it literally said that. And it was the very first time I saw it where it was like I think it was like Fruit Loops or something, like one of those cereals, and it said, now made with whole grain, like parents, now made with whole grains. Like it was literally the message was shouting out to parents, like, hey, parents, this is now made with whole grains. So therefore, you see that and you're like, if you don't know, and we don't know what we don't know, but if we don't know better, then we'll look at that and we'll go, hey, look, they're saying now we've made this better. Or now it doesn't have food dyes in it, so therefore it must be good for us. Right? This is like the new messaging. So basically marketing and messaging, and I'm sorry I'm getting like heated about this, but like marketing and messaging comes up, they have a new focus every single year, right? Like it's like, oh, now it doesn't have food dyes. Like food dyes are a big conversation right now. So now everything is like taking out food dyes and stuff. So now that you think it's okay, well, now it's okay to eat it or to give it to my family or to do these things. And it's just hype. It's literally they're just replacing one with the other. It's like when carbs were such a bad thing when Atkins was big and was like, oh, now this is like sugar free, but now because it's no sugar, they're just adding other ingredients and additives and stuff to still make it taste good. It's like when you go to a restaurant, they add so much salt and butter to food because they want it to taste a certain way. So just that's my kill is just try to not believe the hype. If you see something, if you were like, I always knew Fruit Loops were bad, and now it says it's whole grains, don't believe the hype. Don't believe that it now is good for you because it's still Fruit Loops. It's still not good.
Yeah, and they're
And I'm
not
not trying to
true.
hate on Fruit Loops, but I am hating on Fruit Loops at the
No, but it's
same
even like
time.
recently, and I said this on a podcast a little bit back. Again, because everything there's a difference between trends in nutrition and shifts in nutrition. I feel like, GLP-1 medications have shifted the way that people focus on weight loss, and it will change it moving forward. Whereas like a trend would be something like, oh, the keto diet is hot right now versus the Atkins diet versus whatever. But the marketers, they're paying attention to whether it's a shift or a trend. They're just jumping on whatever it is right now to sell more of that product. So there's a lot of foods now that
Totally.
will say like, oh, GLP-1 friendly. Like, what does that even mean? But
I
they'll
know.
have like
Or
they're
gluten
marketing
free
it
when gluten.
alongside of that, even though all foods are GLP-1 friendly. Anyone can eat whatever they want on GLP-1s, but the idea is too, of course, like they're trying to focus on foods that are higher protein. So they're like, oh, it's high protein, so it's GLP-1 friendly. Because that's one of the concerns for a lot of people who are on those medications. But it's just fascinating to me because, the ones that are early adopters, they're already on their marketing messaging. They're already out there trying to sell more boxes of protein bars or whatever it is. And
Mm,
that food still existed before that, like it's fascinating to me. But the thing is, real, like, if we go back to what we married, like, what really is GLP-1 friendly is eating a balanced, like, complete and three balanced plates made up of real whole foods. Like, that is what is beneficial to
yeah,
everybody, whatever. And of course, we all
exactly.
have different foods that we might have intolerances to, or maybe you have a condition where you can't eat certain foods. I had someone once say to me, like, I can't believe that you recommend green smoothies, or talk about having green smoothies. Like, I can't consume fiber, and it's so, like, you can't blanket statement that. And I'm like, I never did blanket statement it. Like, I never said everyone should have. We all have different digest, like, some foods will digest and some foods we won't. But the idea is that when you're focusing on real whole foods with those tweaks, that's different, right? But I agree with you. It's a lot, and it's really hard for parents and people to navigate through because you're trying to make better choices. But the
Totally.
truth is if it comes in a box, if it was created in a lab, if it's altered from its natural form, it's a processed food. And the more highly
Hmm.
processed it is, the worse it is for our body. So if it's in a box of cereal, right? If it's a frozen meal, if it's a mechanically separated chicken, like, those things are they're further and further and further from their wholest form, which is a highly processed food. And we want to avoid processed foods as much as possible. So whatever the
Yeah.
marketing says, whatever the trends say, whatever, and mine is kind of a little bit similar, but not. Like, I also think too, like, don't pay attention to the hot supplements. Like, remember when everyone was having, like, the be all end all is
Full
like
cider
bulletproof
vigor.
coffee, where you put like butter in your
Uh-huh.
coffee. That's a trend, right? Again, is that something we're going to do for the rest of our lives? And some people adopted it, it worked well for their bodies, and other, it caused them a lot of digestive issues, right? Like,
Mm,
it's not for
yeah.
everybody. But, or like, there's, acai berries were like the magic superfood at one point. So I just, that's one of my kills, is getting caught on supplement trends, or still, like, it's another way of looking how we used to look at diet pills. It basically is that, like, they're positioning new supplements and things like that as basically what diet pills used to be. They're a quick
Hmm.
fix, and some of them, even the results that a lot of these, and even right now it's peptides, right? You'll see it all over social media for nutrition. A lot of people are saying, oh, your nutrition's not working, supplement with these peptides, which they're trying to piggyback off of GLP-1 medications. And they're like, they're not tested for long term, we don't really know if they work, and it says on it, these need to be accompanied by a proper diet full of real whole foods, and what we just talked about. So anyways, it's just a lot of money grabbing too, so I don't like that. But the thing that I want to break up with forever when it comes to nutrition is just doing diets or things like this that you will not do for the rest of your life. If it doesn't feel doable for the rest of your life, ditch it. If
Hmm.
it's not a food that you're going to consume, so remember Slim Fast shakes? Like, are you going to drink Slim Fast shakes for the rest of your life?
Right.
No. If it feels
Or the
overly
grapefruit diet. Are
restrictive,
you going to be on that for the rest of your life? You
yeah.
would
If it's
die,
overly restrictive, like, you're
literally.
cutting out an entire food group for the rest of your life. And you're eating in a style that you're only consuming, meat. Again, some people, health conditions, are highly benefiting from that. But for the average person, like, every macronutrient has its purpose. So I just think about, like, overall, it's just ditching the diet mentality. But if it's something that's kind of like my barometer, you're like, okay, I'm going to try this. Like, I'm going to go on keto, let's say. Well, could you do that for the rest of your life? And if you can't, what's going to happen is you're going to get into that yo-yo, because you're going to get results from it. You're not able to stick to it. If weight loss is one of your goals, you'll probably gain it back. Then you'll think keto is the only thing that works. So then you'll go back, try to do it again. And every time we try to do something a second time, it's harder than the first time because we already know what we have to do, right? So if it's something like that, if you're like, okay, I can't do it, how can I do a variation of this? Which, again, if you just go to quality food, protein, fiber, fat, real whole foods, protein, fiber, fat, you have a tool that you can balance for the rest of your life. So I just think the diets that if you don't think you could do it, ditch it. And that's me. I've done every diet under the sun, literally
Mhm.
everything.
Same.
I've been a vegetarian, I've been a vegan, I have been on keto, I've been on Atkins, paleo, the carb power hour diet, as we used to talk about, cabbage soup diet, like everything. I've been on it all. And the foundation, like what works and what is doable and what benefits your body, is what I said I would marry. So that is my
Agreed.
kiss, marry,
I
kill
agree with
for
your kill. I agree with your kill 100%.
yeah. Because even in our certifications, when we talk about nutrition, what we teach is foundations that you could do whether you're 8 years old or 80 years old, right? Like these are habits and foundational coaching tools that might shift and will need to shift due to the seasons of your life. However, the foundations are the same. And then you learn how to also tweak them to each person, where they're at, how to coach them through that. So, um, if you guys want to learn more about nutrition, these are, and well, first of all, I'd love to know everyone else's Kiss Mary Kill. Drop it below in, if you're watching this on YouTube, drop it in the chat. Um, or you can email it into us. But the other thing is, if you want to learn more about holistic nutrition, especially around the area of weight loss, we do have our holistic nutrition weight loss coach certification, which is starting on October 27th. So we are getting ready to open up for early bird enrollment. So if you want to get on the wait list, head over to fitchicksacademy.com/HWLC. We're going to be opening up our early bird enrollment. I don't know the exact date yet, but it's going to be in a couple weeks, and that's how you lock in your spot. But you also can lock in at some extra bonuses and best rates. So keep your eyes out for that. But if you go to fitchicksacademy.com/HWLC, you can get on the list. And then next week, we're going to be talking about Kiss, Mary, Kill for coaching. How fun is that? I like doing these series.
I know. I know. I'm like, I feel like we could do this for everything in life.
I know. I'm going to be doing this now. Like, what in my kitchen would I Kiss, Mary, Kill? Okay,
Yeah.
everybody, have an amazing week, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.